Hey guys, what's going on? So, I was thinking about this the other day and realized while there's so many ways to play Tekken, there's a few archetypal styles you can follow to help build yourself as a player. The following are a list of very diverse gameplay styles that each have their own weaknesses and strengths. I will explain each one to help illustrate the kind of players that you are or who you might be versing. This may also help you decide what kind of playstyle suits you best. So let's get started. So the first playstyle that I want to talk about is the Aggressor. Probably the most common style of player you will find in the early ranks of Tekken. While this can also be applied to higher ranks as well, in most cases this is how a lot of people start playing Tekken. The traits of an Aggressor are impatient, always rushing in, very attack heavy, and low defense. The pros for this fighting style are, you do get used to your attacks as you are throwing them out all the time. If you do manage to start your offense before the opponent, there's a good chance you'll come out on top. Throwing out a lot of different moves may catch your opponent off guard and connect the certain hit you've been waiting for. Now the cons for this are, attack heavy people are usually very confident on the offense but crumble on the defense. Another con is bomb rushing the opponent could lead to a whiff punish if they see an attack coming, and if you're always throwing out attacks, it's highly likely that's going to happen. Focusing more on your offense is a very dangerous decision, as when you reach higher ranks, you will have to defend a lot more. So the higher level version of this playstyle is when the opponent is aggressive, but leans more towards throwing out lots of safe moves, or as I like to call safe pressure, as all the moves return them back to neutral stance and don't allow them to be punished even if the move is blocked. The second playstyle I want to talk about is defensive. Now, defensive playstyle is something I'm sure you can imagine. It consists of one constantly blocking and only capitalizing once they find a chance to, but will not often take risks to create said chance. If you've ever seen someone just holding back and wondering how to get in, I'll spill the beans. So, breaking down the pros of this is, obviously, you get to block most attacks. Another one would be not putting themselves at risk of whiff punishing as they aren't throwing out many buttons. The cons for this are sometimes when blocking for a long time, people crumble under the pressure as the block string has gone on for so long they aren't sure what move is coming out next and could get busted by a low or get launched. Another con would be you're susceptible to grabs, as if an opponent sees you blocking for a while, they will attempt to grab as the other damage is not working out for them. The final con for this is not throwing out buttons, even safe ones, could be potentially missed opportunities to not only attack but to interrupt the opponent's strings. A basic jab at the right time can put a hole in the opponent's relentless attacks, and if you give off the impression you are scared, the opponent will just pressure you more. So the next playstyle I want to talk about is poke heavy playstyle. So the poke heavy gameplay style is one of which you are constantly chipping away at the opponent's life with short concise strikes and backing away only to rinse and repeat. This playstyle can be very tough to play against, as it is very frustrating to verse someone who is slowly taking your life away without giving you a chance to interrupt their attacks. So obviously the pros is, as mentioned above, short concise attacks prevent a combo from being worked out. So just on that note, if you are using combo strings, say it's 1, 2, 3 or whatever, if the opponent knows it's a low, low, high, they can just block both the lows and then duck the high and punish you for it. Whereas in this situation for poke heavy characters, or the poke heavy playstyle, it's one move at a time. There is a higher chance you'll be able to sneak that attack in. So another pro for this fighting style is it can frustrate an opponent and force them into a more aggressive style, leading to a multitude of new scenarios you can capitalize on. Poking and being successful may also work in the way that the opponent gets worried and backs off as you've chipped them down a significant amount. This can lead you to pressuring an already scared opponent. The cons for this would be, if the same pokes are being applied, the chances are the opponent may work out the pattern and start to block or parry based on the next read. So it's important to keep it mixed up. Sometimes if pokes are making their way in, maybe combos would have gotten in too, so you're potentially wasting a combo opportunity of 30 to 50% health deduction as opposed to a small poke of maybe 5%. The final con would be, if the opponent works out the timing of when you back off to when you go in for a poke, a simple counter poke could be applied, or even a well-timed hop kick may do enough damage to even the scores, or even do more. So the next playstyle I want to talk about is the Mixup Master, or Gimmick Master. This playstyle pertains to characters that have high risk, high reward mix-ups, such as Lee's stance where he either launches or goes for a punishable sweep, or Jin's forward 4 into stance. It's a playstyle that is heavily reliant on keeping you confused with switching between certain moves to keep you guessing. While although you should always try to mix up your moves anyway, this playstyle pretty much will use the same similar moves just in different orders to make you guess between the 50-50. So the pros for this would be the obvious being, it's a 50-50 situation, so the opponent will always have to guess. So, for example, Kazuya's 1-1-2. If you're versing a Kazuya and he's done the 1-1, you know for certain there's only two outcomes that can come from that. Either he finishes off with the 2 and you punish, or he just stops, both of which blocking will handle both situations. Using this method, however, the opponent will never know which is coming next, because it's always going to be a 50-50. Doing the same mix-ups on an opponent can also fluster them, as you're getting them with the same move just in different order, and can cause them to play worse. So the next pro would be, if you have a character that's actually geared towards mix-ups, for example Asuka, Lily, or even Akuma, you get more options out of those same 50-50 mix-up situations. The cons for this are, if the opponent is sick of guessing the mix-up, they could just create space and backdash, leaving you to either whiff or be back to the neutral again, rendering the mix-up fruitless. If the opponent can decipher your pattern with certain mix-ups, it can put the user in a less skilled state, as their bread and butter go-to moves have been worked out and are forced to switch to other unfamiliar moves. If the opponent works out the user is only doing these mix-ups as well, they will adapt and learn to interrupt with faster moves like jabs or medium punches. The final playstyle I want to talk about is the Counter Punisher playstyle. Now this is the most straightforward and easily noticeable playstyle, and can be very deadly if performed right. A lot of pro players use this playstyle when everything is on the line and they know the match ahead will be tough. It consists of throwing safe moves on block and using defensive tactics like sidestepping and ducking until the opponent slips up, which is when they pounce in for the full combo. The style does not have a lot of weaknesses when done correctly, but requires a cool head and calm and collective decisions. So the pros for this are, it is a very close-knit style that does not leave a lot of holes and counter opportunities. It has great fundamentals and movement, which will help dictate the match. For example, getting the right low parry or sidestep will showcase you're ready for those certain moves, and the opponent will be hesitant to throw them out. The final pro for this is, it's a very low risk way to play if you know the character matchup and how to defend properly. The cons for this are, this playstyle does not command nor does it control the match due to mostly defending and waiting for the opponent to slip up. If the user is using this approach, pressuring in different strings may cause them to go more on the offense and change the way they play, due to waiting for the time to counterattack may not be worth it as they aren't that familiar. If the user relies too much on the defensive techniques to counter, such as sidestepping, the opponent may start using homing moves in order to destroy that method of counter. Well, that about does it for the most obvious playstyles. Of course, a lot of players will mesh these together, but at least if someone uses any of these traits I've explained, you will have more of an idea of how to defeat them. Or, if you choose to pick up a new playstyle, you will be able to come up with new ways to defeat your opponents. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.